Good morning and welcome to the fifth meeting of the year for the California Commission on the State of Hate. I'm Russell Roybal, Chair of the Commission, and I officially call this meeting of the Commission to order at 9:01 a.m. on May 22nd, 2024. Closed captioning is available for this meeting. The closed captions can be displayed in English or another language, which will allow you to view an automated live transcript of the meeting in another language, including Spanish, Chinese, Korean, and Vietnamese. To display closed captions on your screen, please do the following. Click the button labeled Show Captions at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you'd like to display captions in another language, select the box at the bottom of the window enabled Label Translation. You will see a window with the heading, You've enabled translation at the top. Select English as the speaking language and select your preferred language in the second menu. Then click Save. Automated captions in your selected language should start appearing at the bottom of the Zoom window. We will send instructions in Spanish in the chat. Now let's establish our quorum for today. Monica, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Chair Roybal.
Present.
Vice Chair Chalcedo. Commissioner Che.
Present.
Commissioner Cuellar.
Present.
Commissioner Adamski.
Present.
Commissioner Filer.
Present.
Commissioner Levin.
Present.
Commissioner Sinar.
Present.
Commissioner Suthers.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Also, I'm here.
Yeah, did you get Commissioners Salcedo, Vice Chair Salcedo?
Vice Chair Chalcedo.
Great. Thank you. Now to review the agenda, you may view the agenda by visiting the Commission's website, calcivilrights.ca.gov/Commission on the State of Hate, or type in California Commission on the State of Hate in any search engine, and you will find our online home. Click the button Meetings and Agendas. We will send the link to the agenda in the chat as well. On our agenda today, we'll be approving our minutes from our last meeting, a discussion and action regarding the Commission's annual report. We'll hear reports from our subcommittees and then any Commission member announcements, and then we'll go to public comment on items not on the agenda. To that end, I want to review the process for public comment. First, this commission is a public body, and an important part of being a public body is hearing from the public. To that end, this meeting is open to the public, and there will be opportunities for public comments throughout the meeting today. To keep an orderly meeting, please make sure to comment only on the agenda item under consideration. If you have comments that are not specifically related to an agenda item, please save your comment for the agenda item titled Public Comment on Items Not on the Agenda. To submit a written public comment, email the Commission at csh@calcivilrights.ca.gov. We will put that email address in the chat. We will be monitoring this channel throughout the meeting. If you submit a written comment that pertains to an agenda item, we will read it aloud or summarize it when the public comment portion of that agenda item is open and before any vote. If the comment is not about a specific agenda item, we will read it aloud or summarize it at the end of the meeting during the agenda item titled Public Comment on Items Not on the Agenda. If you would like to speak at the meeting to deliver your public comment, you will have the opportunity to do so during the public comment portions of the meeting. You may request to speak on an agenda item by raising your hand on Zoom. If you are joining on a computer, you can raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button on the bottom of your screen. If you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. During the public comment portion, we will call on attendees who raise their hands to allow them to unmute and to deliver comments. For anyone joining us in the room in Los Angeles today, you may submit a written comment by emailing us or by writing your comment on a piece of paper and handing it to Shanna Hart, our staff member in the room today. To deliver a verbal comment, please raise your hand and we will unmute the room. In the interest of time, we will limit verbal public comments to 3 minutes per person. When you have 30 seconds remaining, I will give you that 30-second warning. Now let's move on to approval of the minutes. We'll now move on to the approval of the minutes of the last commission meeting. The minutes from the last meeting are attachment A. We will post the link in the chat to download attachment A from the commission's website. I will now, before we move into discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the commissioners.
I move to approve.
A motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Che. Is there a second?
So moved.
Seconded by Commissioner Cuellar. Is there discussion on the minutes? Any changes, corrections, additions? Seeing none, is there any public comment related to the minutes?
No public comment.
Is there any public comment in the room, Shanna?
No public comment.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion from the commission? All right, all those in favor will call the roll. Monica?
Chair Wardball,
Aye.
Vice Chair Salcedo,
I abstain.
Commissioner Che,
Aye.
Commissioner Cuellar,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Filer,
Aye.
Commissioner Levin,
Aye.
Commissioner Sinar,
Aye.
Commissioner Suthers.
I have to abstain.
Okay. And it's passed.
All right, that motion passes. The minutes are approved. Let's move on to our next agenda item, which is discussion and action regarding the commission's annual report. We will start this morning with an update. For those of you that attend commission meetings regularly, you'll know that Deputy Director Alec Watts usually leads reports from the staff. Alec is on a deserved vacation, and we hope that he is having fun wherever he is. And today, filling in for Alec will be our staff member, Rebecca Goodsell. Rebecca is going to review some updates to the report. The commissioners were all emailed the report, the latest version of the report. So Rebecca will introduce any of those updates. I have an update, and then we'll move into discussion. Rebecca.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I'm going to give an update on revisions to the Commission's second annual report as found in draft 3, which was sent via a link to a Google Doc. So the Research and Strategic Initiatives team worked with the CRD staff on revisions to report based on feedback from the previous meeting. And there were 3 main updates. So first, we added a description of the most recent community forum in Shingle Springs. Second, we edited the subsection on ethnic studies to reflect the fact that there's a controversy. And we also summarized the legal guidance provided by the Office of the Attorney General. We did not feel it was within the scope of the report to dive into the details of the controversy, at least within this particular report. The commission has not focused on this as a commission as a whole, so we don't want to get into the details until we've had a chance to discuss it further. And then third, we made revisions to the section titled Hate in the Wake of October 7th, which includes information on acts of hate on campuses and more broadly, and includes updates to the language adopted by the ad hoc subcommittee. And so you can see those edits based off of feedback from commissioners in the previous meeting. Thank you to those commissioners for providing updated reports and suggestions on some additional pieces to add. You can see that in the report, that section starts on page 18. And now I'll turn it over to Russell to give an update on language added from the ad hoc subcommittee.
So all of you will may recall that we had a discussion at our last commission meeting about how to refer to the events in Israel and Gaza over the past few months. We formed an ad hoc subcommittee with Commissioner Sinar and Commissioner Filer. which aligned on the finalized language. As Rebecca said, that language is in the report on page 18. Before I move to next steps, is there any questions or discussion about the updates that Rebecca provided? All right, so we talked a little bit about this. Oh, sorry, I just saw your hand. Commissioner Levin.
Just perhaps for the public, we could read that short section because we have a public that might be interested.
Sure, I can, I have that here. I can read it, Rebecca. The language is beginning in October of 2023 and continuing into 2024, communities across California have been experiencing a wave of hate coinciding with the tragic attacks by Hamas in Israel on October 7th, 2023, and the subsequent war in Gaza. Concerns of safety, security, displacement, shelter, and famine have been raised by parties abroad and in the United States. That is the language.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to review the next steps. We talked a little bit about this at the last commission meeting, and so I just want to review that again before we get to discussion and then about how to move the next steps for moving forward. So I've worked with the staff to determine the process moving forward. The next step on the report, now that it is in this draft, this kind of third draft form, is to vote to move this draft forward to the governor's office. As you will recall, last year, we approved the report and then it went to the governor's office and there were some minor revisions made to it. I would propose in this round or for this year that we vote to approve this version and delegate any additional changes to staff and the chair and the vice chair, similar to what we did last year. Staff will be working on additional copy edits. As you have seen from the report, it is big and larger than our report last year, and the staff has done a wonderful job around that. If there are substantive changes that need to be made, I'll work with staff to consult with commissioners and our subcommittees relating to those portions of the report that are within their purview on incorporating those changes. So if there are any substantive changes, we will go back to the commissioners or the subcommittees for those particular pieces of the report. Commissioner Levin, you have your hand up again.
Yeah, just getting San Jose data today won't be controversial. I'll send it to as directed by our wonderful commission chair, who I still want to take out when I'm back in SoCal.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Damsky.
Thank you, Chair. While we were just discussing the revisions to the section about the Israel-Hamas war, I really want to thank Commissioner Filer and Senard for being our subcommittee, our ad hoc subcommittee who worked on that language. I think what we have in the report currently is greatly improved, and I'm very appreciative. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsky. Commissioner Salcedo.
Yes, I want to second the sentiments of Commissioner Damsky. But also I just have a question. When are we supposed to submit the draft to the governor's office?
So what will occur is we will, if the commission agrees with my suggestion, then we will, the report will go to the governor's office for review. As all of you know, by statute, we are required to produce our report by July 1st of every calendar year. We did that last year, but there was a delay in the review from the governor's office. So we are trying to get it there as quickly as possible. That way the commission report will come out as quickly as possible. I think all of you know that we are trying to keep this report as up to date as possible, but there is a point where we have to stop making revisions. So the staff is working hard and making sure, as you heard Rebecca say, that we included the Shingle Springs Community Forum in the report. If there are any other things like that that happen in the next basically week, then the staff will work hard to incorporate those edits, and then it will go to the governor's office for review. So I will entertain a motion from the commission to forward it to the governor's, to approve and forward it to the governor's office with the caveat that I and the vice chair will work with the staff on any edits, and if there are substantive edits, we'll come back to the particular commissioners or subcommittees for review.
So
Commissioner-
moved.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Damsky. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Levin. We'll now move into questions. Commissioner Che, or discussion.
Yes, thank you very much. And so just for process-wise, we are to share with you any additional final changes within the week, because once it goes to the governor's office, there can be no changes from commissioners. Is that right?
That's correct, unless for some reason there is some substantive change from the governor's office. We'll come back to the commissioners or subcommittees that pertain to that particular part of the report to discuss.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca, do you feel like that is like in the next week, we need any final things?
Yes, yes,
Great.
that's correct.
Thank you, Commissioner Sinar.
I just wanted to clarify though that because we are voting on it today, that there won't be any substantive changes over the next week. Because otherwise, I think we may feel that we need an opportunity for another vote if there's anything that's substantively changed. So
Yes.
I just want to clarify that what we are voting on today is essentially the report that will be sent to the governor.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, Commissioner Sinar. Any further discussion from the commissioners?
Well, that point of clarification, I'm sorry, you didn't call on me yet.
Go ahead, Commissioner Che.
That point of clarification is really important, because I think with regard to the revised language, and I do want to thank Commissioners Sinar and Filer, that I would like there to be a note that that the conflict and did not begin on October 7th, that it's more historic. And so I think that for me would be important to know without going into the whole history. But I don't know if that would be acceptable to the other commissioners.
It's all right if I jump in? Sorry. It's
Commissioner
Commissioner
Filer.
Filer. I think that both, and I don't want to speak for Commissioner Sinar on this, but I think that the language we put in is something that, at least in our ad hoc committee, we agreed upon, and I don't think changing it in any way would be something that I would agree on right now. So from my standpoint, I think what we worked on in the way that it is written now is what I would keep it on, unless you want to, move into another ad hoc committee or subcommittee discussion on all of this.
Thank you, Commissioner Filer. Commissioner Damsky.
Thank you, Chair. I would concur with Commissioner Filer's comments just now. I think the purpose of our report is to document what we've been seeing in this past year and to go into the history of the conflict and the history of the creation of the nation of Israel and the creation of all of the histories going back to early 1900s and even further back than that might actually be better focused in one of our forums than in our annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsky. Commissioner Sinar.
Yeah, I want to kind of appreciate the point of Commissioner Che and also agree that just as a process matter, given that I think the language here was aligned on after fairly lengthy additional conversation, and as a process matter to me, it would be better to just leave it as it is rather than to reopen the process for further discussion and another delay in getting the report to the governor at this point. So I want to appreciate the point, and I think actually all of us would agree that there's a larger history here. I think we would probably see that history in different terms. And but regardless of that, and with appreciation for the point, I think just as a process matter, we should probably leave it as it is and just move forward with the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Sinar. Commissioner Che.
I thank you for those points, and I think that the mention of the context of generational grief, which is the last sentence, perhaps is enough to suggest that this what we're seeing unfolding is goes beyond just October 7th. So perhaps that treatment works. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Che. Commissioner Levin.
Just
well,
while we're
public comment.
talking about process, I really want to express my gratitude to Commissioner Sinar and Filer, and indeed all the commissioners here, because part of what we have to, I think, model is, and this is what I've been saying about the campuses, the notion of communal agreements, communal understandings, outreach and dialogue. And I really want to give my heartfelt and sincere gratitude to both Commissioner Sinar again and Commissioner Filer, as well as the staff for, I think, setting a model of how we can address these deeply, deeply hurtful events to so many people. So just hats off to my wonderful colleagues. It has to be said. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. We'll now move to public comment on this agenda item, and then we'll move to a vote. Is there any public comment, Monica?
No public comment.
Shanna, is there any public comment in the room?
There's no public comment.
All right, we will now move to vote unless there's any other commissioner discussion. Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Just as a reminder, we are voting on the motion to approve the report and forward it to the governor's office with the caveat that any further copy or incidental edits will be made in conjunction with the staff and the chair and the vice chair. If there are any substantive changes that the particular commissioners or subcommittees for that part of the report will be included in that conversation and discussion around those changes. And thank you again for that clarification from Commissioner Sinar earlier. All right, let's go to a vote. Monica, will you please call the roll?
Of course. Chair Wardball,
Aye.
Vice Chair Salcedo,
Aye.
Commissioner Che,
Aye.
Commissioner Cuellar,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Filer,
Aye.
Commissioner Levin,
Aye.
Commissioner Sinar,
Aye.
Commissioner Suthers.
Aye.
It passes.
Thank you, everyone. We have our second report now forwarded to the governor's office, and let's everyone just keep in our thoughts for the governor's office to move speedily to this process so that the report is out as quickly as possible. And again, I want to extend my thanks to the staff for their hard work in putting this report together and gathering all of these data sets and working with all of the subcommittees, and to all the commissioners, and as Commissioner Levin said, to Commissioners Sinar and Filer for getting us to this place. So thank you, everyone. I feel like we should do like a round of applause or like a thumbs up, or my thing recognizes gestures, so I'll do some little hearts in the Zoom. Great. Let's move on then to chair and subcommittee reports. We'll start with the chair's report. First off, I would like to wish everyone, as you can see on the screen of Commissioner Che's background, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and also a happy Jewish American Heritage Month. Commissioner Che, since you have that background, do you want to talk about what that background is? Are you going to do that in your? I would love to hear about it.
Oh, okay. I love being put on the spot like that. I appreciate it. I want to give a lot of props to the artists, which is the Cut Fruit Collective that we have been partnering with. And for those who may not be familiar, and I think this is probably the case for many cultures, one of the ways in which you show love for your family members, especially your children, is to cut fruit for them. So it is an expression of love, and I think it's, in my opinion, it's enabling, because my children will not eat fruit unless I cut them very beautifully and peel them. So that's not really about creating independence, but there's lots of stories around that. And this particular tapestry was intentionally created because it reflects the diversity, much of the diversity in terms of colors and patterns and symbolism around heritage. And of course, it's not exhaustive, but that's what the background is. And yes, happy API Heritage Month. This month we launched, as part of Stop API Hates Work, a campaign called Spread AAPI Love. And it's a national multimedia campaign that's really about uplifting the stories of resilience, resistance, and solidarity. And it's not just about highlighting individuals through our campaign, but it's also inviting everyday Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders to share their stories of how they celebrate and express love in their community. So thank you very much, Commissioner Roybal, or Chair Roybal.
Thank you, Commissioner Che, for letting me put you on the spot. Commissioner Filer.
I want to just say to Commissioner Che, I think that is so, I'm going to bring tears. I think it's so beautiful to understand that story and the way love is given through the cutting of fruit and how special that is. And I love the word resilience. I feel like that's so important in our world today, and for the understanding of each culture's history. And I think that that's so beautiful, and I love your background. So thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you, Commissioner Filer. Commissioner Cuellar.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Commissioner Che for sharing that story, and lovely. I love the artwork. It's so beautiful. I love the colors, and just the story is really beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Commissioner Cuellar. Commissioner Salcedo.
Thank you so much, Chair. Commissioner Che, I just want to also say thank you so much for your vulnerability, and despite the fact that you were put on the spot. But I also want to remind all of us, right, that our existence is not just confined to be celebrated once a month, right, or 1 month out of the year, right? I think we should all celebrate all peoples, all cultures, and we should celebrate the existence of all people. So thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story with us, and we celebrate you today and always.
Thank you, Commissioner Salcedo. May is also Missing and Murdered Indigenous People Awareness Month. This past Saturday, the Commission hosted its second annual community forum in Shingle Springs. focusing on Native issues in California. If you were unable to attend, the recording of the forum is available on the Commission's website. I especially want to thank Commissioners Cuellar and Commissioner Filer for putting together the community forum. And Commissioner Cuellar, as I said at the forum, and I want to say here again, thank you for welcoming and hosting us and your gracious and warm and relentless hospitality at Shingle Springs. And to be able to give us a tour not only of your economic power engine that is Red Hawk, but the Rancheria and all the amazing work that you're doing there, including building affordable housing for your tribal members. And a special thanks to your staff, in particular, Kim Stoll, for really hosting and making sure that commissioners had what they needed, and the community forum went off very successfully. And the last thing I'll say is it was a pleasure to meet your mother and get to see how proud she is of you and all the work that you are doing there in Shingle Springs. And on behalf of the commission, thank you again for making that possible for us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And it was very nice to just see all of you here on my homeland. And it was really, I can't wait to do the next event and have all of you guys here again. So thank you guys all for coming. Thank you.
And for those watching, we posted the video on YouTube from the community forum. It was very powerful, impactful, and I hope folks will get a chance to take a look at it and see the epidemic of violence, in particular against Native women, that is happening all around the US and here in our state. Next, I am excited I said this at the last commission meeting, but joining us for the first time today, I'm excited to introduce you to the newest researcher at the Civil Rights Department supporting the commission, Dr. Kevin Thomas. Dr. Thomas is an educator, analyst, and activist scholar. Prior to joining CRD, he served as a research associate in the Social Sciences Division at UC Santa Cruz. Kevin has also held faculty positions at UT Austin and Marquette University. His research utilizes a range of qualitative research methods to critically examine the relationship between marketing, consumption practices, and notions of self and community. Kevin is particularly interested in how identity markers such as race, gender, class, sexuality are represented in marketing and experienced in marketplaces. His research is informed by over 10 years of industry experience as a market researcher. Welcome to the commission, Dr. Thomas. Would you like to say anything?
Well, thank you so much, Chair Rohrbaugh. That was a great introduction. Just so happy to be here. Just based on that background that you just shared with everyone, it just seemed like a really great fit to be a part of this commission and be able to support the mission that it has to hopefully exterminate hate in our state. So I'm just happy to be part of the supportive team here.
Thank you so much, and thanks for joining us. I also just want to tell you that on Monday, California versus Hate, our partner at the Civil Rights Department, celebrated its 1-year anniversary. There was a press conference that I was fortunate enough to be able to speak at to celebrate the 1-year anniversary. I know Deputy Director Monroe is with us this morning. Deputy Director Monroe, did you want to say anything about the anniversary? I know I'm putting you, this is the chair putting people on the spot day at the California Commission on the State of Hate. But did you want to say anything about the anniversary?
I just thank you. And it's tough to follow Commissioner Che, who doesn't ever look like she's been put on the spot. But I am grateful for you for speaking, and it was a great celebration, really, of our partnership. Our main message from that press conference was that our work is only possible because of the partners that we work with, both in the community as well as some of our government partners. And speaking of Commissioner Che, another kind of theme of the press conference was the no wrong door idea that we really want. We recognize that if people put enough trust in us to report acts of hate, that to do justice to that trust, we have to make sure we connect them with the help that they need, whether we're the agency that can provide it or someone else is. So I would encourage folks just to, we've got new data that's come out, and I'm happy to share we've got some press releases that have some of that new data. The other message, we've got a lot more work to do. So we did see over 1,000 reports of hate in our first year. We know there's more to be responding to. There's more work to be done. There are more communities we need to reach. And with the partners that we have, we feel confident that we can do so. So thank you for this opportunity. And Chair, thank you for speaking. I think all of our speakers were fantastic. I would highlight that we had a particularly compelling sophomore from high school who spoke about her nonprofit that she started with API Youth Rising. So if folks take a look at it, I would make sure you look for her remarks, which were really fantastic. So thank you. And if folks can go to cavshate.org, just a reminder, if you or someone you know has been targeted for hate or discrimination, we want to make sure we provide people with the resources and support that they need. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director Monroe, and thank you for your leadership and your work on bringing California versus Hate to life, and for all of your decades of work on this issue. We're very fortunate to have you in California and at CRD. Commissioner Levin.
Yes, I just like to point out that this is more than an exercise in enumeration. Becky Monroe has been so wonderful, even before she came back to California, in helping to set the stage so not only we could get this done here, but along with partners trying to do it around the country. So I just want to, I don't want to put her on the spot, but could you tell us how many people actually, got referrals to some kind of help? Because I think that is the winning story here. And that is something that we have to applaud as a commission. And I personally just thank you for everything, for so long. So if you could just, she's not the kind of person that toots her horn. So please give us a little bit more detail about all the people that you helped who would not have been helped but for this wonderful program. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. And I think it gives me an opportunity to I'll give a few numbers, but like you said, numbers never tell the whole story. And and I think as we were just talking earlier in the call, with every act of hate, there are many stories behind it in terms of both the person who was targeted and the community. But overall, we received over 2,000 contacts, and we highlight that within those over 2,000 contacts. And again, I'm going to share all of the precise data in the chat so everyone can see it, and we'll make sure that everyone who's watching can see it. Within that, we had over 1,000 reports of hate. So what that means is that that difference between the 2,000 and the 1,000, those are folks who maybe reached out and they had potentially, maybe it was a landlord-tenant issue or another issue where it wasn't involving discrimination, but they still needed government support. So even in those cases, we connect them with where they can get support for that. And then within the 1,000 folks who reported acts of hate, over 60% agreed to receive care coordination services. So again, that means we're not just referring people to where they, giving people referrals and saying, good luck. That's where we have a care coordinator who's dedicated to that person and to that person who's reported to connect them with the services that they need. In many cases, we're able to do that pretty quickly. So maybe they need, and we have, another interesting point from the data is that we connected with people with over 100 different kinds of services. So one of the things that we heard very clearly from community members is that, and from community leaders, is that you can't, you need to have culturally competent specific services. And we really did that. And part of what we think shows that is those 100 different even categories of services we provided. But what I was saying is, sometimes we provide those services when we connect them, maybe within days, they're able to get what they need. Other times it takes months, and we stay with people until they get what they identify that they needed. So those are some of the numbers. Like you said, there's always more behind the numbers. I'll also just plug, we have more data coming. We will have a fuller report. We have a very short report now, and then we'll have a fuller report once it's gone through the approval process that you all are very familiar with. But we are fortunate to have that report. We are doing that report in conjunction with the Possibility Lab at UC Berkeley. And so they have really helped to make sure that we're providing data that is not only accurate, but also is providing the correct context so that people understand sort of how this data relates to other sources of data. So please stay tuned. I will make sure you all have access to the data that we do have, and we will have more. And we know we have more to do. So thank you.
And we'll calendar a future commission meeting to get a report from California versus Hate, and maybe even bring on some of the community partners that were at the press conference, that so folks can hear directly how the state is partnering and bridging with community-based organizations to provide that level of care coordination. Commissioner Cuellar.
Thank you, Becky. My question was, do you guys go around to different events and share resources and things like that? Because I will be hosting an event in the last part of August, our big time, and I would love for you guys to come and have a resource table. It's a whole weekend event, and so a lot of community will be coming in, so would love to have a booth for you guys with resources and just kind of spreading the word. And then also I did receive a lot of requests for the new posters from our community. So I was hoping that maybe you can send some my way, and I can start kind of putting those out and promoting that on some of our businesses and things like that.
That's phenomenal. Thank you. I just want to recognize too your team, and I don't know how we talk a bit amongst ourselves about how you do everything you do, because it seems like you are everywhere. You had your team help work very closely with folks that we work with to develop our outreach materials. And so thanks to you, we were able to release some materials at the commission meeting, as you all know, that were focused on making sure that we're meeting the needs of Native Californians and Indigenous Californians, and you kind of helped to make sure that those materials were culturally competent, and you have extraordinary people on your staff. So thank you for that. Absolutely, we will be happy to I'll probably reach out to you, make sure I know which ones you want and how many of each ones you want. And just as a plug for everybody else, if you go on our website, there is a place where you can kind of request printed materials and we'll get them to you. So for everybody else, and that goes for any of the materials that we have. And we absolutely go to events, would love to be there. My colleagues, Chantel Bermudez and James Williams Jr., who are incredibly talented and experienced in this work, are often out at different places. Actually, just this past weekend, we were at an Oakland Roots game. We will be out in force for Pride across the state. We have a smaller Pride tour we'll be doing. So we want to make sure people know about that. But Commissioner, we would thank you for that invitation. We will be there, and we'll make sure we bring as many materials as we can to let people know about the resources available. So thank you.
Perfect. I'll send you the information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that is a good reminder that, again, we'd like to remind everyone listening and watching that if you feel you are a victim of a hate crime or incident, you can contact the California versus Hate resource line at 833-8-NO-HATE, or go to California versus Hate. That information is on the screen, CAVSHATE.org, to report and to get connected to resources and information. So thank you again, and happy anniversary to California versus Hate. An anniversary I know that none of us really want to celebrate, but that is important as we continue to provide resources to all Californians until we eliminate hate in our state. I also want to remind you about the free services available to communities through the California Civil Rights Department's Community Conflict Resolution Unit, affectionately called CREW. If your community is experiencing heightened fear, conflict, or tensions because of discriminatory practices, hate incidents, or hate crimes, the Community Conflict Resolution Unit may be able to assist. CREW offers a range of conflict resolution services to help communities effectively address hate and discrimination-based community conflict. All CREW services are free, voluntary, and confidential. CREW services can be requested by completing the request for service form online and emailing the form to ccru@calcivilrights.ca.gov. We'll put that information also in the chat. That concludes my lengthy and on-the-spot report for today, and we'll move on to the Subcommittee on Data and Research. Commissioner Sinar.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Roybal, for all of those updates. Just very briefly on the very last point you mentioned about crew, I think it would be really helpful to have some examples of the work that they have been able to do. I know it's a fairly young organization, but I think in terms of encouraging people to use those services, some concrete examples of what they have been able to provide might help others see that the service is something that could help meet their own community conflict needs.
That's great, Commissioner Sarin. Well,
yeah.
when we schedule Deputy Director Monroe, when we schedule the update for California River State, can we also include an update and specific examples?
Fantastic.
We would
Commissioners.
welcome that. Thank you so much. That would be great. Thanks.
And so for the committee update on data and research, I will keep this brief. Mostly, we are just continuing to pursue the research projects that we've noted in past updates, including those around educational interventions, mental health, criminal justice, and victimization of trans people in California. Those are some of the existing research projects that we have shared in prior meetings. For the coming year, we are exploring additional research, including restorative justice and other alternative mechanisms for responding to incidents that go through the criminal justice system or that potentially would go through the criminal justice system. We have also been discussing non-member advisors and deciding both on the structure for that kind of advice, as well as who in particular we think would help support the work of the subcommittee. And the final update, which is also something mentioned previously, is that we are working with the Institute for the Study of Hate on several research projects, but including a research convening for the fall. And for that, again, if people do have suggestions or thoughts around community-based researchers, so in other words, not just looking at academics, but people who have been engaged in research in their own communities, participatory research with communities, all of that, we would love to have some suggestions for people that we should be talking to and getting feedback from as we think about the design of that convening. So I think that's about it for my update.
Thank you, Commissioner Sinar. Just as a reminder for those who wish to make a public comment, we will get to those public comments when we complete the subcommittee reports. Thank you again, Commissioner Sinar. Now to the subcommittee on policy recommendations and best practices in other jurisdictions. Commissioner Cuellar.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I sit on this subcommittee with Commissioner Che. And so we are still working with our research partner, Halima Barusha, on our community-based research, which is really geared towards language access. We are still conducting interviews with Stop the Hate grantees, and we are looking to revise some questions. So we are working towards that. And then just recently, we heard about a new bill being introduced by Senator Dave Min, Senate Bill 1078, which will establish the Office of Language Access within the California Health and Human Services Agency. So we are going to be reaching out to Maureen Kiefer within the Department of Social Services to get some more information on that. And I believe that's it, unless Commissioner Che would like to add anything, but I believe that's pretty much it.
Yes, thank you so much, Commissioner Cuellar. I would like to just add 2 points. One is I also want to thank you for hosting our community forums. Thank you, Commissioner Cuellar and Commissioner Filer. It was an incredible experience to be there. And I think we should just go around and have our different commissioners host. And I'm going to have an open invitation, even though I live in LA, to host it in San Francisco in our Chinatown. And let's try to make that happen. I think it really does add another layer of understanding, and we can do a Justice Walk tour that we just started to talk about the rich history of our communities. I was particularly interested in, and I got to attend the California Truth and Healing Council, which I know many had to rush off to get on their planes. But I think that it was such an incredible example of the role that government can play in listening, in going to where the communities are, and creating space. I was very interested in hearing what issues were raised. And I also want to just say that I agree with Chair Roybal that because we had a representative from the California's Racial Equity Commission, that there is a lot of overlap in terms of our aims and goals. And just reading over the executive order on the California's Racial Equity Commission, we are actually named as part of all the efforts that the governor has invested in. And it just makes sense for us to find ways in which we can share information, make sure that we're building upon the work that we're collectively doing. And so that's something that I hope that we can certainly follow up on. Thank you.
Thank you for raising that point, Commissioner Che, because Commissioner Hendricks was there, and she's on the Racial Equity Board as well, Commission. And so she actually got with me afterwards and really wanted to do something partnering together with our commission. So thank you so much for that reminder. And I think that would be a great opportunity for us to collaborate and just to continue moving our message forward. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Quer and Commissioner Che. Now the subcommittee on recommendations for law enforcement, Commissioner Damsky.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to all the commissioners who have already given their reports today. So my name is Commissioner Damsky. I'm pleased to share the report from the Commission on recommendations for law enforcement on behalf of myself and Commissioner Suthers. As I reported in our April meeting, we had been working with the California Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training to create a video for training law enforcement about the new requirements to report hate incidents in according with AB 449, which went into effect in the beginning of this year. Filming was completed early this month, and we are waiting to be notified when editing is complete and we have a finished product. This can take several months. Our committee has not met since our last forum and is scheduled to meet tomorrow. One of the items I want to bring to our committee for consideration is an issue that was discussed during our last public forum. On May 11th, we met at the Shingle Springs Band of Miwok Indians Rancheria in Placerville, hosted by Commissioner Chairwoman Quayer. Our forum topic was Resilient Roots Addressing Native American Hate. We spoke at length about the gaps and overlaps in criminal law enforcement between tribal and municipal law enforcement entities. At that meeting, I spoke with Isaac Boroquez, or Bojoroquez, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, from the California Attorney General's Office of Native American Affairs. Mr. Bojoroquez works with these jurisdictional matters and has offered to provide us any information that may be useful for our commission. And I would like our subcommittee to consider looking a little more deeply at this and also asking the question of whether we have any other similar jurisdictional matters that may appear in other communities, perhaps with youth might be one example. And this concludes the report for the Committee on Recommendations for Law Enforcement, unless Commissioner Suthers has anything he would like to add.
Commissioner Suthers.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Damsky. And what I would like to do very publicly and wholeheartedly is first thank Commissioner Damsky for being very humble here and including me. As you probably all know, she has carried the weight of our subcommittee by herself since last semester. Needless to say, the activities in the city of Los Angeles generally and on my campus specifically required my full attention and time since last semester. So I want to thank her for doing that. I want to thank all of you for your support. We've had a lot of work to do and she's been carrying that load, and I just do not want to take any credit for the things that have happened in the last several months when I was not able to do anything other than focus on what's been happening here. So thank you, Commissioner Damsky. Thank you for those of you who reached out since that time to support me. We continue to address a very difficult and complex challenge, not just here, but across the country and the world, and appreciate your support. But Commissioner Adamski, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Suthers, and I want to thank staff as well who helped take up the slack in your absence. It's been a team effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Adamski, and thank you, Commissioner Suthers. Let's move on to the Subcommittee on Community Forums, Commissioners Cuellar and Filer.
Well, good morning again. So I will be giving the update on the Subcommittee on Community Forums. I sit on this committee with Commissioner Filer. So we just completed our second community forum, which everybody knows, which was in Shingle Springs. It was geared towards our My Native community. So now that one is complete, and I just like to thank everybody. I think the forum was awesome, and I think the participants were the speakers. Everybody just coming was really it was a great event. So thank you guys so much. And I would definitely love to do this more community forums, and like what Commissioner Che said, in everybody's respective areas. So I think that was very powerful. So with that said, we are now working towards our third forum, which we will be hosting. Well, we're still working out the logistics on exactly where that will be, but we are working with the Civil Rights Council on this next community forum. We are thinking it's going to be sometime in August or September. And so we'll let you know more at the next commission meeting. And then our fourth forum, final one, will be in November. And I believe that one's going to be geared towards hate in rural communities. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. Commissioner Filer, is there anything I'm missing?
No, but I wanted to add a couple comments about our last public forum. One, I have to compliment you and your entire staff, and not only the way the whole public forum ran, but what you have done for your community and what you showed us was so impressive, overwhelming in how much you do as a leader. Also, I thought that the public forum that we did in your community and is a great example of what our whole commission is about, because what I personally learned and the knowledge I have, and to be an ambassador into other communities to understand the issues and what your Native Americans are facing and what your women are facing. I think for all of us, this is sort of an example of what knowledge, information can do to help further causes and things that we are missing in what we are handling. And I left there probably feeling like it was one of the most important 24 hours I've ever experienced in quite a while. And the knowledge that I gained, I have been sharing in my community and sharing with others. And that is really what this is all about. And so thank you. You brought something to all of us that was unique and very important.
Thank you for that.
And I hope our other public forums can do that and bring together all of us in California.
I think that's what we're working towards. And I think, this is our second year, and I think our forums are definitely getting stronger and more participants. So the word is definitely getting out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioners Filer and Commissioner Cuellar. I also just want to do a note for what Commissioner Che talked about earlier about our future forums. I've asked the staff, I think you heard me say in our forum meeting that I've asked the staff to be in contact with the staff of the Racial Equity Commission around figuring out when we can start to plan stuff to do together. I know that they're open to that, not only from Commissioner Hedrick, who attended our meeting, but Larissa Estes, Dr. Estes, who is the staff person at the Racial Equity Forum. So I know staff is going to be in contact with the Racial Equity Commission to talk about how to do something together as well. Commissioner Sinar.
I wanted also to express gratitude to Commissioners Cuellar and Filer for the really incredible community forum in Shingle Springs, and agree with everything that's been said about how much knowledge and insight it really produced, and how valuable that was. I wanted to just offer a couple of suggestions for potential community fora. I guess at this point, we're thinking maybe 6 to months out or so, in terms of issues that I think we as a commission could benefit hearing from a little bit more. And one is on this issue of restorative justice that, we know that there is incredible work being done in California and around the country on non-carceral interventions. There's some fantastic nonprofit organizations in the city, in the state rather, in all parts of the state, Impact Justice, and there's a group in Southern California that focuses on restorative justice in a interracial, intercultural, identity based context. There's a group, Creative Interventions, that works on restorative justice measures. And I think it could be a really helpful a complement to some of the work that the Research and Data Subcommittee may be looking at in the coming year, to hear from people who in their own communities have experimented with and innovated around restorative justice. So I know because we don't have many opportunities to talk across subcommittees, I just wanted to put that out there, and would be happy if that is of interest to share information in any forum that or through the staff or in any other way. The other issue that I wanted to mention that we have heard from a bit as a subcommittee is the question of caste discrimination, and that's one that has been of interest in both California as well as the nation. There was legislation to explicitly include caste discrimination as a protected category. The governor, if I recall correctly, vetoed that legislation, but the idea of caste discrimination, particularly for some communities coming from South Asia, but not exclusively, is of concern. And I think because it's something that many of us are not familiar with, I think that potentially just understanding the issue more, and it is a complicated issue, but one which people within our state and elsewhere are asking us to minimally to understand better, and then think about policy that might address it. So that may also be something we may want to think about addressing as a commission. And not that that is a particular charge for any of our subcommittees, but something that perhaps any of our subcommittees could take up and investigate further. So just a couple of suggestions. The existing fora have been really incredible, and the ones coming up too sound like they're really addressing important issues. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Sinar. Commissioner Filer.
I think what you brought up, Commissioner Sinar, about restorative justice, I think that would be, in looking at our forums, I guess this will be for 2025, that, and this is something I would love to know how we can do it. It would be great if we could partner with you to look at creating that public forum and to get the information of the groups that you think would be valuable to do something like that, because we're going to look at, right after we finish the next two, the ones that we want to start setting up for the following year. I know it's tricky with all of us because of the regulations of how we can partner together, and so maybe we can talk to the staff about how we can do that with 3 commissioners in the room, how we set that up. But I think those are really valuable ideas to look at for 2025 to get those kind of public forums, along with doing public forums in other communities, so that we can also understand and become the ambassadors again, to have that knowledge and voices as commissioners to go into our own communities and into the world to provide that deeper understanding.
Thank you, Commissioner Filer. I would also suggest that, 2025 is a while, a little bit of ways away. I mean, it'll be here before we know it, but if there are some informational presentations, Commissioner Sinar, about those topics that you think we should schedule or calendar for a regular commission meeting as a precursor to doing something larger, then I think that would be great. And to get at Commissioner Filer's, matter about how to organize it, we could actually then talk about it in a commission meeting and use that time to talk about planning something bigger for the future so that we're not having to figure out how to communicate or organize that in some other way with the subcommittees, given the public meeting laws. So, but we should definitely do that. And so let's, Monica and Rebecca, let's make a note about that to follow up with Commissioner Sinar for a future commission meeting. Commissioner Levin.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Sinar. As you can see, what is great about this commission, there are many things. It's also the diversity of expertise and experiences. So Commissioner Che did a beautiful job with respect to the scourge of these horrific mass shootings, for instance. One of the things that I'd like to address for potential future topics relates to something that we see a lot of commentary on, but also some things that we don't. So I'll start with violence against the homeless. I'm going to try to meet with some leaders in the advocacy community for homeless people, unhoused people. When I go to DC, just a real limited amount of time, so I'm trying my best. We are seeing a terrible scourge of violence against these vulnerable people. Just today in the New York Times, the story of one horrible attack in New York State. For many years, the National Coalition for the Homeless, where I was formerly a board member, there were more homicides against unhoused people by domiciled folks who did not have a spontaneous kind of dispute, a drug deal gone bad, or some kind of robbery, but merely the fact that they are considered legitimate targets for aggression. So when we're talking about, for instance, caste, this is also an example of a class-based type of aggression. And what we saw for many years, particularly in the first part of this century, were annually more homicides of the kind that I said by domiciled people without any other apparent motive. Indeed, in San Diego, where many of our commissioners from, the movie Bum Fights series was sold in stores. We are seeing these kinds of attacks where women are raped, where people in wheelchairs are set on fire, where people are drowned, and they don't have an advocacy community like many other vulnerable groups. So I would welcome that examination. Also, there are multiple states that have them covered in protective civil rights and/or hate crime statutes. Not so with California. So there are opportunities for either that or vulnerable victim outreach. And if we had these individuals covered, I think these are people who would benefit from the very kind of services that the California versus Hate has been doing such a marvelous job of looking at. Another group, well, technically covered, and I have been pushing for this for, yes, over 3 decades. I think back in '92, I testified before the California State Senate on it. Undocumented people. We have seen attacks over the years as well. Why? Because assailants feel that they get a free pass if you're homeless, if you're female, if you're undocumented. And one of the great things about what this state does and what our governor does, unlike other governors who pardon people who commit hate crimes, like the governor of Texas. By the way, when I go to DC, I'm going to see if we can bring up federal charges against an assailant, a person with a history of racism who shot someone at a Black Lives Matter rally there in Texas. But nevertheless, homeless, undocumented people, these are people that we don't have a lot of data on, but the stories that come out and the limited data that we have are horrific. The last point that I think we might want to address is some kind of nuanced dive into what Dr. Ibish, who I will be meeting in DC as well, about the balance, and it's really important, the balance of protecting civil liberties and free speech of those who passionately and sincerely want to protest the horrifying loss of life in the Middle East, while also balancing the rights of people to feel safe and secure in a campus community. And I think we have folks available to us either on the commission or within our wingspan of expertise that I think could bring vast nuance to this topic. Having done decades in interfaith and working on peace process, and let me just say, there's also good news. We have folks coming together in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. Just today, the news is covering a proposition for an overarching peace plan. So when we hear all the cacophonous noise out there, and I talk about the modeling that we do, if there is a place where we can have nuanced, earnest, and respectful dialogue, I think that this commission has demonstrated that. And I just want to quote one of our Cal State grads who we lost in the San Bernardino terror attack, and what she used to say, and this is how I feel about my colleagues in the Civil Rights Department and on this commission. She was known for saying this: beautiful people see beauty in all people. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Adamski.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank our commissioners for this report. As other commissioners have mentioned, we rarely have opportunity to speak to each other as a group, other than these forums and our monthly meetings. I wanted to point out something I noticed at our most recent forum in Shingle Springs. And it felt to me like our commission had finally gelled, that we were working together, that we had come to develop trust in each other and work well together and support each other in the work that we're doing. I believe the first year or so of our commission, we were getting our sea legs under us, and now I feel like we're ready to rock and roll. I think that forum was a wonderful success, and I look forward to seeing what we will do in future forums. I don't want to ask you to do more, but I wish our forums were more frequent, as evidenced by comments from the other commissioners today. There's a lot of interest in seeing forums on a number of topics. One that came to my attention during my work with the Post video was hate crimes directed at people who have disabilities, even people who have hidden disabilities, and seniors who tend to develop more disabilities as they get older. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for learning here, and kudos to this subcommittee for the fabulous work it's been doing. It's a pleasure to know you and work with you.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsky. And thank you for that observation. One of the things there will be no subcommittee report on the subcommittee of funding. But as we close this and move to public comment, one of the things I want to mention to all of you is that in my remarks at the California versus Hate press conference on Monday, one of the things I talked about was the gap in data sets that are available to us, and that including some of the things that you all have talked about, in particular around Indigenous communities, in particular around people living with disabilities, and how do we continue to, and there was one more, Rebecca, what's the one I'm missing, or Kevin? There were three that I mentioned and now I can't remember the third.
It may have been undocumented.
And undocumented folks, that's right. So the three particular communities that I talked about around the lack of data and the gaps in the data that's available to us is undocumented folks, folks who are Indigenous or native to California, or native Californians, and folks with disabilities. So I think that that is something that is definitely present to mind. And then the last thing I'll say before I take public comment is we are required by statute to do 4 community forums. That's the minimum. And I'm not saying that the subcommittee should do more work, or the staff, because I'm sure the staff is like, please don't say we're going to do more community forums. But if there are ways to, instead of meeting monthly, or use some of the time that we've already set aside to explore some of these other topics that are important for the commission to hear about and to learn about, then we should figure out a way to meet that need. We don't always have to wait for a community forum. We can certainly do some things in a commission meeting, or we could do more community forums, but that's something that we can certainly talk about with the staff as we plan for the future. You know, we do have budget constraints, as all state organizations and agencies do, but it's something that I think that we can at least chat about and think about how we can meet those needs and think outside just what we're required to do, or the box that we find that we think we are in, if we need to do something a little bit different. So let's move on to Commissioner Damsky, did you have something else? I see your hand is still raised.
Yes, I did. Your comment, Chair, just reminded me of a report I listened to this weekend that was talking about the overlap between prosecution of Indigenous and people of South American descent who are actually American citizens who live near the border, and a new law that is being proposed. I don't remember if it was in Texas or Arizona, for law enforcement to interrogate those people on the spot as suspicious individuals who may be undocumented. Gratefully, we don't have a law proposed like that here in California, but I know it's a common issue. And I have also heard from people of Kumeyaay descent whose tribes historically cross the border of the U.S. and Mexico, who experience some issues regarding this as well. So when we're talking about hate affecting Indigenous and undocumented people, there's some overlap between these two communities.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsky. I will just validate that by saying that growing up the grandchild of someone who was born on the border and who lived on the border most of their lives, I was taught from a very young age that I should always carry my birth certificate with me. Right. So that is a very real thing. Thank you for lifting that up. Let's now move to public comment on this part of the agenda, which is the chair and subcommittee reports. Are there any public comments?
Yes, looks like we have public comment from Hector Manuel.
Hector, welcome. You have 3 minutes. I will give you a 30-second warning. Welcome.
Hector Ramirez. Buenos dias. My name is Hector Ramirez. Good morning, my fellow siblings. I'm so glad to see some of you that I'm really glad to call my friends and partners. I'm a person with a disability here in Los Angeles County. I live in the ancestral and unceded lands of the San Gabriel Niño Band of Mission Indians. Thank you for holding this space today. I would like to respectfully and urgently recommend that people with disabilities be a future topic and area of focus, and urge you to implement equity standards to drive the great work that you're all doing and include disability as one of the driving intersectional focus on the work that you do. The National Institute on Minority Health and Disparities has now determined that people with disabilities often experience a wide and varying range of health conditions that lead to poor health and shorter lifespans. In addition, discrimination, inequity, and exclusionary structural practices, programs, and policies create barriers to timely and comprehensive health care, which further result in poor health outcomes. People with disabilities who also belong to one or more populations with health disparities fare even worse. This includes our Native American, Alaska Native, Indigenous communities, our Hispanic, Black, African American descendants of slaves, our TGI, Two-Spirits, and LGBTQIS communities, our API and immigrant communities. The lack of access for people with disabilities is an act of hate. Denial of disability accommodations is an act of hate. Retaliation to people with disabilities for trying to get accommodations or advocating for those is an act of hate. Here in California, we are the driving force of disability rights. However, lack of enforcement at city, council, and even state level for the enforcement of disability rights has been the result in the driving force not only of our horrible homeless epidemic, but we have had the worst health outcomes during the COVID pandemic. We urge you to definitely drive your focus and do this. As a person with a disability, it's very difficult to even access this meeting trying to get accommodations. So I recommend you to connect with the California Commission on Disabilities and Access, on which I serve as a commissioner, to get advice and recommendations on how to ensure that your meetings are really not only being accessible, but welcoming of people with disabilities. I thank you for the great work that you're doing and support you moving forward.
Thank you for your public comment, Dr. Ramirez. Is there any other public comment, Monica?
No further public comment.
Is there any public comment from the room in Los Angeles, Shanna?
There is no public comment.
All right, thank you. Seeing that no other
We
public.
have one more hand raised.
Oh, okay.
Name iPhone.
Hello, welcome. You have 3 minutes for public comment. Welcome to the California Commission on the State of Hate. Hello?
They've been unmuted, so.
Hello, whoever is dialing in that says iPhone, we can't hear you if you are speaking. All right, Monica, let's come back to that. If you could message that person through the chat and see if
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on to commission member announcements, and we'll start with Commissioner Levin, who I believe has a presentation today.
Oh, actually, I'm going to defer that to our next meeting, because I heard that the California versus hate material was going to be teased out there. But I did, just before I make an announcement, I just wanted to just clarify something from Dr. Ramirez. He talked about the California Commission on Disabilities, and in the beginning of his statement, he mentioned another entity, and I just didn't get to write it down as fast. So if he could put it maybe in the chat, that would be great. But I'm happy to have other people go first for their commissioner announcements. I just wanted to get that other entity that he mentioned as a reference with regard to disability, discrimination, and hate.
We can get that from Dr. Ramirez when we get to the next section, which is public comment on items on the agenda, after we finish up commission member announcements. Are there any commissioners who have announcements? Please raise your hand if you are able. Commissioner Filer.
Yes, I did want to mention about on June 10th from 5 to 6 p.m. There will be a open mind presentation on the state of hate. It is being co-sponsored by the Friends of Semel and my board, the UCLA Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital Board of Advisors. And it's the first of a 3-part series we're doing on the state of hate and presenting some of the new research that we have found that a lot of our doctors that are doing specifically research on the state of hate, they'll be presenting. Some of it is very specifically on the brain and changes that happens related to hate. So I don't know, I think we can post the registration, but it's free and it's on Zoom. So whoever would like to attend, I encourage you to do so.
Thank you, Commissioner Filer. Any other commission member announcements? Commissioner Levin.
Yes, thank you. We are unfortunately at a time where a significant amount of work is going to be potentially deflected to the states if some existing presidential candidates are elected. I do not involve myself. I'm a lifelong independent, and my center, I ran that way for that purpose. And that's another reason why I want to thank the governor for having the courage to appoint someone who's an independent. But when we are dealing with the potential of mass deportations, attacks against federal institutions, the structure of federal institutions, Muslim bans, as well as a variety of other things, I want to tell you that in my conversations with folks, not only in DC, but across the country, that remains an area of deep concern if in fact these horrifying types of measures are going to be done federally. There's a lot that can be done by executive order, and I am very concerned, and that will impact California, not only with vulnerable people in our state, but also deflecting a lot of the work onto state agencies where formerly there would be partnerships federally. So that's something. I will continue to be in touch with our dear friends at the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights. Additionally, next week, I'm going to Washington. By the way, just so folks listening to this, not on the state's dime. This is all on Uncle Brian. We're going to be discussing data and service that does not relate to carceral perspectives. So that's why what we're doing here is not just important. What we're doing here, what California versus Hate and the Civil Rights Department is doing is so important. So
30 seconds, Commissioner Levin.
So I will report back on that. Thank you. And lastly, in June, I will assist the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, their Indiana State Division, and hopefully highlight the wonderful things that we are doing here inter alia. And lastly, thank you, Chair Roybal.
Thank you, Commissioner Uncle Brian. Vice Chair Salcedo.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to make an announcement. I also want to appreciate, everyone who has shared in this space, including the people who have made public comment. I want to just invite all of you. Our organization is celebrating our 50th anniversary. So estamos celebrando nuestra quinceañera. And so we're having our fashion show on November 16. All of you are invited. I am sharing the link in the chat for people to include it in the minutes or disseminate it. So please come and celebrate with us. A way to combat the hate, to really uplift and celebrate people who are transgender and conform intersex people. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Vice Chair Salcedo. I was in multiple quinceañeras as a young person, so I can't wait. Commissioner Diaz.
This is with a twist.
Thanks for a whole lot of twist. That sounds wonderful. Thank you, Chair. I wanted to just mention that word of our commission is starting to get out. A lot of folks in California are starting to hear about it. People are starting to ask me about it, and I'm starting to receive requests to speak in various places. One of those invitations recently has been a local Hadassah, which is a Jewish women's group. And I've been talking with our chair about whether I can accept these invitations and whether I'm restricted in what I can say. Receiving some general guidance from him that yes, I can speak on behalf of the commission as a commissioner about my experience, why I'm involved in the commission, what the mission of our commission is, and also talk about California versus hate. I imagine several other commissioners might be receiving invitations and requests like this also. So I think this would be something that would be of interest to share with each other about what our experiences of going forth into the world are like and how we're received, and if that may guide further the work of our commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsky, and that's a good reminder for the commissioners. If you are asked to speak on behalf of the commission at any kind of event or press related, make sure that you please check in with me and or the staff first, in particular the press staff. There, we try to limit who's speaking on behalf of the commission to the press. But if you are invited to speak, I think that is a wonderful thing, in particular to talk about the work of the commission, invite people to our meetings, and talk about California versus hate. And so, but please just check in with myself or the staff first, so that we know that you're doing that. And in case you need any materials, in particular, Deputy Director Monroe or the commission staff can forward materials around California versus hate if you're going to be speaking at something as another way for us to get the word out about the hotline, etc. So thank you for that reminder, Commissioner Damsky. I see no other commission member announcement. We'll move to public comment on items not on the agenda. Are there any public comments for items not on the agenda?
Yes, looks like we have a comment from Dr. Ramirez.
Dr. Ramirez, welcome back.
Yes, thank you. I'm definitely, just so you know, the chat's locked, so I can't respond or ask questions or get technical support. So that has been a problem, but I just wanted to flag it. I'm definitely going to go to the quinceañera. I never had my quinceañera. I've been very upset because I didn't even get to go to my high school prom, so I'm definitely going, Bobby. But I serve in a variety of disability stakeholder positions. I'm a commissioner with Los Angeles County Commission on Disabilities, the California Commission on Disabilities and Access. At the federal level, I sit on the ACL board with the federal administration, focusing on people with disabilities, and work with the Department of Justice Division on Disability Rights. But primarily, I am one of the co-chairs for the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health Access for All group, which is the stakeholder group for people with disabilities. The Department of Mental Health this year provided services to 250,000 residents in Los Angeles County. By definition, each and every one of them are an individual with a disability, primarily a psychiatric disability. But because of stigma and discrimination, oftentimes people are not able to really identify or really acknowledge their protected civil rights. And I cordially extend an invitation to any of you to attend our meetings, to participate. In the past, we have tried to invite staff from this commission, from the Civil Rights Division into this particular space, and we were actually prohibited and retaliated by the Department of Mental Health and staff, and we had to involve the Department of Justice recently to remove that restriction. The department was very concerned that information about the work that you were doing and the resources were going to be available to people that might actually benefit from them. And unfortunately, that has some significant consequences. So again, I really want to invite you all to Los Angeles County, which is the epicenter for disability rights in the state of California and in the nation. I would like to brag about that, but also to really highlight and connect people with the important work that you're doing so that folks are aware of where your resources are, given the fact that in the past couple of months, we were actually prohibited and retaliated from sharing your resources, which are state resources. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Ramirez, for your public comment. I see we have another public comment, Monica. Sean Gilbert. Welcome, Sean. Monica, I don't see Sean. Oh, there we go.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chair Roybal, and all of the commissioners for all the work you're doing. I'm with the League of Women Voters Diablo Valley, and I want to acknowledge your 1-year anniversary. It was 1 year ago in the early part of May that I was working with Becky Monroe, who did participate as a panelist in one of our community conversations programs that we partner with the Contra Costa County Library with, as well as CCTV and another sister league. So I thank her. We did not know we were on the cutting edge of the commission. And I am very appreciative. As you know, I've been monitoring many of your meetings this past year. And I appreciate everything that you are doing. And today I want to say thank you to Commissioner Sinar and Commissioner Levin and Commissioner Damsky for lifting light to some of the groups that we have these data gaps about. And I want to thank Dr. Ramirez for lifting the light onto the challenges of those in our community with disability. So thank you for all your work. Thank you for your compassion.
Thank you, Sean, for joining us and for your public comment. I see no other public comments. Is there any public comments in Los Angeles?
There is no public comment.
Thank you, Shanna. Since there are no other public comments, we'll move to future agenda items. Again, as a reminder, if you have a future agenda item, including some things that we may have spoken about during the meeting, please forward those to staff and CC me so that we can put them in the queue for future agenda items. And then that concludes our agenda for today, but I do want to do a quick reminder since it is the anniversary and we do this at every meeting to remind folks, if you are experiencing or you know someone who is experiencing a hate incident or a hate crime, please make sure to call California versus Hate, and you can do that at the number just above me on the screen, 833-8-NO-HATE, or report at californiaversushate.org. You can do that anonymously, and you'll be connected with a care coordinator who will be able to get you access to state and community resources around what may have transpired or occurred to you. So please access that resource. We are grateful to have that in California, and we hope that folks take advantage of that if you are indeed a victim or someone you know is a victim of a hate incident or hate crime. I want to thank the commissioners for your time and your dedication and service to the commission and to the state and for your good work. It is a pleasure to see all of you. and to get to spend time with you, even if it is on Zoom and virtually. I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Salcedo. Is there a second?
Second, even though I'd rather spend time with you, I second the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Damsky. And today we will adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 We will adjourn today in honor of Commissioner Che's beautiful artwork and her story about cut fruit. And I will think about that every time now I cut a piece of fruit for someone. So thank you for that today, Commissioner Che. We are adjourned at 10:41 a.m. on May 22nd, 2024. Thanks, everyone. We'll see each other soon.